Welcome to the Black Duck Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Wilkins. I'm excited to have you join me as I speak with a fascinating collection of folks, all of whom have in common that they've made a way for themselves by finding an intersection between thoughtful consideration and the tactile work of getting their hands dirty. This is an examination of intention, capability, and craft. It's where philosophy meets the blue-collar work ethic and where I find real value. The other day I was perusing Instagram and I saw a post from Jonathan Bradshaw, who is a veterinarian specializing, I believe, in like sporting dog care, retrievers and whatnot here in Central Arkansas. I saw a post where he said that he was hunting or spending some time in the woods that day with Connor Gabbott, who is someone I was familiar with from some of his work with Sitka, a short film Sitka just put out about him, and some of his photography online. I knew he was a former chef that had started hunting as an adult and kind of, in some ways went down a similar path that I did as far as really immersing themselves in hunting and the hunt and the food connection and the storytelling to people and whatnot. And so I reached out to a buddy of mine at Sitka and got Connor's phone number, and we texted back and forth for a few days. And so as of recording this, this is Sunday, December 18th. Yeah, Sunday, December 18th. My kid was due on the 12th and is still not here yet. He's hanging out. And Marianne does not want me going very far from the house, understandably, because it's kind of a any moment now sort of deal. So I was actually able to arrange Connor the night before he had to fly back to Vancouver, Canada, or Vancouver, British Columbia, sorry. I was able to get him over here. He took a lift over here from his hotel. I just made a bunch of duck tamales, which were, they were good. That's a thing I'm going to really start delving into is these tamales, because it's such a fantastic way to use up like the bits and pieces of wild game. But he came over, we had a nice meal, ate some duck tamales, and then had a really rad conversation, and it was a cool hangout. Man, this dude's really interesting. He's living this really cool life. He's kind of traveling around, going to some of the most beautiful places on earth. And then we talk about it later in the podcast as well, but he's even fixing to move onto a sailboat. So lots of cool stuff to talk about, wild game, photography, world travel, adventuring, all that stuff in this conversation with Connor Gabbott. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Black Duck Revival Podcast. I am here in my home office, and we've got an international episode today. I'm joined by one Connor Abbott of Vancouver, British Columbia. That's on the western side of our neighbor to the north. I know that because I'm looking at a map here and exposing how ignorant I am about Canadian geography. But so Connor are you a Sitka ambassador or just a photographer? What's your affiliation with Sitka?
Last name's Gabbott with a G.
Wait. I said Gabbott? I said Abbott.
I think you said Abbott, yeah.
Abbott.
All good.
Gabbott.
Yeah.
My bad.
No worries, dude.
But yeah, so I know you because your pictures pop up on Sitka stuff, and then Sitka just did this cool film about you. But yeah, so what's your affiliation with Sitka, and then we'll talk about all the other stuff you do.
Yeah, first and foremost, definitely a photographer and videographer. And then slowly over the years, I've just kind of become more affiliated with Sitka, and I had a chance to shoot a couple hunts for them and done a bit of cooking content, stuff like that, written some articles, and then obviously we did that film just about hunting off the West Coast there for deer. So yeah, I don't know if I'm an official ambassador. I wouldn't say that, but affiliated.
Yeah, your name pops up. There's a lot of times on photos on Instagram, it'll say, it'll have your Instagram handle there.
Yeah.
And so we were just talking about it. You, me, and Marianne just had dinner here at the house.
Great dinner, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And we were talking, you said, that you were cooking professionally for 20 years, right? So
that's right.
What, like, did you kind of start in high school?
Yeah, basically I started when I was 15. If you want like the real story about how I got into it, went to my grandfather's birthday dinner, and there was like 10 family members there or something like that at a local restaurant. And I'm 15 at the time. He looks around and he leans over next to me and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "There's a lot of good looking women working here." And I looked around and I was like, "You know what, Grandpa, you're right, there is." He's like, "You should work here." And so I went back the next day and applied for a job, and I didn't know what I was applying for, no clue. And so they threw me in the kitchen and just kind of fell in love with it and rolled with it. So did it for 20 years.
Man, that's about when I started working in restaurants, and just, like bottom floor, like, bussing tables and washing dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember being incredibly disappointed that first restaurant I worked at, and I had this idea of what like a commercial kitchen looked like, and then it's like soup and bag and shit,
Oh yeah.
It was like popcorn shrimp at the happy hour. It was just darkness.
Burst that bubble pretty quick.
It did, man.
Yeah.
Man, cooking's like a lot of stuff that when it's for mass consumption, it's pretty lowbrow.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get into some niches, or just kind of like specialization, or just really giving a shit about how you do something, and really kind of there's like a transmogrification kind of that can happen, right? Like this in this human experience where your idea and your intent and how you see the world is being communicated to somebody else, and then they have their interpretation of it and all that. Or it can be soup and bags,
I'll take the former.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it can't be that all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's got to be peanut butter and jelly. But
yeah, sometimes you just got to fill the stomach.
Sure.
Yeah.
But and I'm not even talking about microgreens and foam and that was never my forte. But I think just like giving a shit, caring, taking. Sometimes shortcuts are cool, and sometimes you're cheating yourself out of something when you engage in it, right?
Yep.
It's just like it's different to cut stuff with a chef's knife than it is to have one of those little Ron Popeil choppers.
Sure, it sure is a slap chop or something like that. Yeah.
My dad loved that, like making tuna fish salad. He's like, "This is the greatest thing ever."
Yeah. We used to have one in one of the professional kitchens. It works great for chopping nuts.
Yeah.
Like there's no better way to do it. Keeps them all contained and slap away and you're done.
Or like have you ever used those? It's just like looks like a garlic press, but it's for eggs, slicing eggs.
Oh yeah. To dice it up basically.
Yeah, man. That's kind of a perfect.
Or the little slice one. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, man. So, I mean, you're living a super interesting life, and so this podcast is about people who have the catchphrase on it is people who have like found a way to combine thoughtful introspection and then the physicality of working with their hands and made a way for themselves in the world, right? So the many spheres where you're doing that. I mean, maybe most provocatively right now, you're talking about you're doing a lot of these like once in a lifetime hunts or stuff that would be like big once in a lifetime hunts for folks, and you're documenting this for people. So we're talking about like sheep, right?
Yep. A lot of sheep hunts.
And so, I mean, specifically, we say sheep, but like, what does that mean?
So the majority of them, I mean, they're North American mountain sheep. So you're chasing, bighorn sheep, desert sheep, like all the different subspecies or different species. So Dall sheep, stone sheep, and California bighorns and Rocky Mountain bighorns, stuff like that. And then I've done a little bit of stuff internationally, not so much for sheep, more for goats like ibex and stuff in Central Asia. But I do a lot of sheep hunting.
And if you're in Central Asia, I mean, that's like in the stands, right?
Yep. Yeah. I've been to Tajikistan a couple times for
Marco Polos and stuff.
We saw some Marco Polos, never hunted them. We were hunting ibex, and then I went last year and a bit of a boondoggle, but we were I was supposed to meet up with the guy, and we were supposed to hunt markhor, which is a pretty cool animal. But flights got really messed up and never quite made it in time for the hunt.
And you're on these hunts like as a private documentarian, right?
Yep. Yeah. So for most of them, I mean, these are guys who are just, crazy for sheep basically, and they're out there, or any kind of animal that they're chasing, but a lot of times it's sheep, and they're looking to basically capture the memories, right? A lot of times we're in places that are just, unbelievable, jaw-dropping, that not a lot of people get to see. Their family usually isn't there with them, and so they want to be able to take something back and share kind of what that experience is, what it means to them, the work that they put in to do it. Share that with people back home, friends, family, coworkers, that kind of thing.
And you're doing that both with still photography and then videography?
Correct, yeah. So I'll run a couple cameras, and I try to do it all. I'd say I do it all very averagely, because you're kind of swapping back and forth between mediums, but yeah, keeps you on your toes.
What's your standard client look like for something like that? Is that someone are you doing like governor's tags and stuff like that? Or are these just, so everyone knows that these are high dollar hunts, right? Like these are limited access. A lot of places you could put in your entire life for a tag and not get a tag. So a lot of times the way to get access to that is, just through dollar bills, right?
Correct.
So, what do you feel like the motivation for a lot of folks to do that is? Because that's almost out of like my realm of understanding, right? Like it's so foreign to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would like to tag along, like to see it,
Yeah.
See if I die at 10,000 feet, just trying to climb up there. But like, I don't know, man. Can you kind of describe what one of those hunts is like and just like the feel of it and all that?
Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, I've done a governor's tag hunt before, and then, but most of my stuff, it's with guide outfitters in British Columbia, Northwest Territories, Yukon, stuff like that. Down in Mexico too a little bit, but essentially, any of these hunts, especially in Canada and in Mexico, these are all guided hunts, right? No one's really able to put in the time needed to get to know the areas, to find the public areas, or to find a ranch to hunt on, something like that. So the reliance comes down to you are relying on your guide and your outfitter. So everything's kind of organized through them. In terms of prep leading up to it, there's not much really that the hunter has to take on. They show up with their gear, and their gun or their bow dialed in, and it's always nice to have a good baseline of fitness, because any sheep hunt can be quite challenging in that kind of country. But usually there's a way to get it done, no matter what kind of shape you're in.
Yeah,
which is good and handy. But and then basically you're showing up, and in BC specifically, you have to have a guide outfitter take you out there for certain species, basically all big game. So you're flying to the airport, usually somewhere up north, kind of in a smaller remote airport, and guide outfitter picks you up out there, take you to the base camp. You get dialed in, go through your gear, make sure you got everything you need, shoot the gun, make sure the gun didn't get bumped around when you're traveling, and then after that usually you get flown out and dropped off out in country somewhere with a guide who's already out there, ready and waiting for you, kind of thing.
Who's been like living out there, keeping an eye on these critters and figuring out where they are, and that one might be old enough or whatever. Yep.
It depends outfit to outfit how much time they have to pre-scout the areas. Usually these guides are going in, depending on where you are, in northern BC, maybe July 15th or so, and they'd go in on maybe jet boat or horseback and lead a string of ponies in there, or they might just get dropped off by plane, and then they're basically setting up where they're going to hunt and kind of get dialed in and maybe cut some trails, stuff like that, if they're on horses. And then in northern BC specifically, all the hunts are going to start, or sheep's going to start on August 1st. And then caribou is like 2 weeks after that. So they don't have a ton of time to pre-scout, but because of the remoteness of the areas, and there's not a ton of resident pressure because some of these areas are quite hard to get to. and sheep don't move around too much. They have some favorite mountains and stuff like that and ranges. A lot of these outfits, they've been up there operating for 20 years. They kind of have a rough idea of where most of the sheep are. So it's not like you got to go in every single year and refine the sheep and kind of start from scratch. So you got a baseline to work with.
Man, and there's many other things I want to get to in this conversation, but like sheep are something that people get like fanatical about, right?
Oh yeah.
Like there's sheep show, which is like this kind of big industry thing. There's tons of money invested in the hunts and the conservation of the animals and management, moving different animals around, adjust populations and whatnot. And so you've probably gotten to see, like way more sheep than like, the average sheep hunter, right? Like, do you feel like you're kind of approaching, like you've seen a ton, right? Like guides see a ton, but like a person might see for 3 days or a week or however long that might be the only time they're out there.
Yeah.
What do you think is so captivating about them? Like, what is it? The remoteness of the land? Is it the actual animal? Is it the stature of the whole thing? What do you think is so alluring?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple things. I think definitely appearance-wise, they are quite a striking animal, right? To see a full-grown, mature, 12-year-old ram stand on the top of the mountain, like it's quite the sight. And I think because of where they live, they are associated with generally like quite wild places, especially in Canada, where access can be a little bit harder than I think some places down in the States. I think, it's not super common to see these animals for the everyday person. So there's something, for me anyways, there's something that I correlate between wild sheep and wild places. And so I know that if I'm sheep hunting and I see sheep, I'm in some badass place. And so I think that draws in a lot of people. And then, again, I think it's just that it's that visual appearance of the animal. Like they're so striking, right? Those big twisty horns. And when you see that, just a massive 40-inch ram that kind of curls out at the end and flares out, they look badass. So I think that's kind of what draws people in. And then there's also just the physical challenge and the mental challenge, I guess, that comes with hunting sheep. I mean, they live in these big mountains, wild places. It's not easy to get to. And you got to climb. Like you almost always have to climb. There's a couple places where, you can find them down the rivers and stuff like that, down in Washington and Oregon. But up in northern BC, I mean, they're at the top of the mountain usually. So I think there's a huge aspect where it's, it's an extremely demanding hunt physically and mentally. And I think people are drawn to that.
What sort of elevations are you dealing with?
In BC, it's not that bad. I mean, you can find them down lower in certain parts for different species, but for the stone sheep up north, you'd be, anywhere from maybe 5,000 to 8,000 feet, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not that high elevation. Like, we're not usually suffering from any sort of issues with elevation. It's more just the physical challenge of just, huffing yourself up the mountain, right? Putting that boot leather to work and getting up the mountain.
Yeah, man. Last January when I did this late season elk hunt with Jay Byer, that was my deal. Like I got my ass kicked, right? Like the elevation didn't help, but it was also like deep snow. Sorry, you were like post holing the whole time.
Oh yeah,
right. Like
it'll suck it out of you.
8,000 feet. Like I've spent my entire life at sea level.
Yeah,
I lived in St. Louis. I've lived here, man, within a couple 100 feet of sea level.
Yeah, I was.
The first time we went out there, I went up this little tiny. It felt like a mountain to me, man. And then 3 days later, I looked. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "I don't know if I can do it, man. Dude, this is killing me."
How much better did you feel after 3 days, though?
Yeah, by the third day, I would still get tired.
Yeah.
Like if we climbed up real high,
of course.
But yeah, like my head wasn't spinning. I didn't feel like nauseous all the time, right?
Yeah. It's amazing how much, like, between the first day and the third day, that's kind of when I would say most guys, you just start to feel better. just even from a physical exertion standpoint, right? If you're not used to hiking mountains all day, it takes a couple days to get into it. Muscles kind of loosen up a bit, and then you start to feel a lot better.
Yeah. So we're sitting here in the office, and like before we started, I pulled up this map of like North America, right? Again, because I was realizing I had no idea really where Vancouver was. I am struck by how enormous Canada is, man. I don't think that and I bet it's because, the United States, the United States is central to everything. Right. Like if you even look at maps and globes and stuff, like it's disproportionately sized and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, this is a massive, massive country.
Yep.
How does that work in Canada? So I'm looking at it, right? You've got the Northwest Territories. You've got Nunavut, which is, that's like that's way up north. That's like indigenous folks up there, right?
It can be a lot. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's definitely way up north.
And then you got British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, which is like you hear a lot about Saskatchewan with waterfowling, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and Newfoundland and Labrador. How does this, like as a Canadian, how does that, do you feel like people identify as an Albertan before Canadian, or a Canadian, like everyone's kind of in it together, and then you've got these area distinctions?
I think we all kind of identify as Canadians, first and foremost, but because of the size of the country and like the geographical spread of it, there is definitely cultural distinctions between every province, right? Like an Albertan and someone from BC, like, yeah, definitely probably different people a little bit. And then, yeah, same thing goes for any other province. And, the further east you go, the more different it is from BC. So I think the one thing about Canada, though, that is always interesting to me is like you can sometimes see these satellite images that are generated that basically look at that exact map that you're looking at there, which encompasses, United States and Canada basically all in one frame. And they'll do like these night shots, and they're looking at basically where all the lights are. Mm-hmm. And the lights would just be a good indication of like population distribution. Sure. And I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but it's something crazy like 90% of the population of Canada lives within like 100 kilometers of the border of that 49th
Really?
parallel. Yeah. So when you see this map with, all these lights on and all the cities and stuff like that, like, just a little sliver down by that border is all kind of lit up. That's where a lot of, cities and towns are and stuff like that. And then you go north and it's quite dark, So
if you're in the middle of any of these, north to south middle of any of these provinces, like you're in the boonies.
Yeah, I don't know about boonies. There's definitely some big towns in there. You got Edmonton and stuff like that. That's relatively central, but for sure, like the general populace tends to live very close to the border. Lot of wild country out there.
Yeah, man, dude. I'm just looking at it. I was like, dude, the possibilities, man. Like you probably could get in there and you're walking on stuff that another person hasn't walked on in a long, 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 long time.
That thought crosses my mind all the time. Yeah, especially when you're up north in sheep or goat country. I mean, you're crawling along a ridge line that just feels like no one's been there in forever. So yeah, it's a cool feeling.
What's the availability of like relics from First Peoples? Like, are you guys finding projectile points and stuff when you're out there?
You know what?
Probably it's always been there. It's probably always been like few and far between with people up at the top of these mountains, right?
I mean, I would imagine so. I don't think a lot of First Nations. So that's a term that we use in Canada for Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't think there's a lot of traditional First Nations communities that were based like up on the top of mountains that I know of. Anyways, I could be wrong on that, but they do have a history of hunting the same species that we hunt now. So they were up there hunting mountain goats and sheep and stuff like that. But yeah, it still feels like you're walking on ground that feels, very undisturbed and like raw and like primal.
Yeah. And like whatever it is that is drawing you to that place, like the stuff you're feeling when you're up top and you're like looking over, right? That's the same shit that 10,000 years ago.
Totally.
Some dude that was like wearing caribou skins was thinking the same stuff. I've
Totally.
climbed up on top of big rocks and stuff just here in like the Ouachitas and the Ozarks. And like the whole reason to do it was because it was this big thing to climb, you know? And
Yep.
like that's a very human instinct. Like I just want to get up top and see what's over there. Or how far could I see if I could get up on top of this limestone jut out, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's almost that challenge thing, right? Like, can I do it? Can I get up there maybe?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's not as much of like me challenging myself as just like that wonder, like, you know, what is up there? Like, how can perspective, you know what I mean? This like metaphorically as well as like tangibly, like how can perspective be changed or altered by seeing it from this perspective, right?
Yeah.
So man, let's step back to that Sitka film. So, who did that? Who did like most of the filming for that? Was that Hines or?
No, so that was a studio. It's called by Marion Films, and so they're based out of California. Great group of guys. And so they came up and they spent what do we spend, like 5 days out there or something like that. Really enjoyed working with them. Shout out to those guys; they were awesome, tons of fun. And then we had
really well done, man.
Super
very
well done.
watchable. Like, and it's only 8 minutes long, man. But it, which sometimes can seem not long enough, and sometimes can seem like people are shoving too much stuff into that space.
Yeah.
And it just the pacing of it breathes really well.
Awesome. Yeah. No, they did a phenomenal job. They were really good. Yeah, and I don't know. It was fun. It was super fun to make. I mean, to be able to talk about kind of like what drives you and your passions and stuff like that, and to share that with however many people might have watched was awesome.
Man, what I was struck by when I was listening to that is, I mean, obviously we're coming from different places, and I mean, some similarities, right? Like worked in food for a long time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Got to about mid-30s and then was like, let's make hunting like the primary focus of our professional life, right?
Yep.
But the way you're describing it, right, which is, it's a way that people talk about hunting and food. It's like the people that I like that hunt talk about it that way, right? And I haven't said this on the podcast in a long time. There was a while where I was talking about things being too precious, right? Sometimes I think like there's a little too much moral hand-wringing when we're trying to make the pursuits palatable towards people that don't have a first-person connection to it, right?
Yeah.
And like sometimes I think the word harvest gets overused, and I get why we do it, but you know, I think if it's not done gratuitously, I don't think saying kill is wrong, right? There's a way to do it that's dirty and feels gross, and there's a way to do it that's very pragmatic. You know, like you've taken this life, you killed to provide for yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very accurate term to use.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's what you're doing, right? Yeah. And a lot of the times I don't feel the need to dress it up. But anyway, man, I'm rambling here. Man, the way you're describing your connection with food and why it was important to you. I said, man, I get it. Like I've said stuff like that a million times before, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff you were cooking on that, right? Like,
it was fun.
I mean, it's stuff that could stretch somebody a little bit, but it was still all very accessible, right? Like you had like a beautiful tartare preparation, right?
Yep.
Was there caviar on top of that?
It wasn't. No, it was just black sesame seeds.
Okay.
Just to make it look cool.
No, it looked cool, man. Like you molded it up in a disc, man. That looked real neat.
Yeah.
And I feel like tartares and stuff are getting a little more on trend right now. Like it seems like, especially people that are hunting ungulates, seem like they're getting down with it more.
I like hearing that, man. That's awesome. I don't have a ton of friends who do the tartare thing
really?
With wild game, to be honest. Yeah.
It's, man, I mean, frankly, it's not going to be my first choice. And it's not because it's unpalatable, man. I'll tell you what, I don't, I'm real big on like contrasting textures. And I think if it was paired more often with something that had like a little bit more robustness, right? Like some crunch.
Yep.
I think I'd be more into it.
Yep.
But anyway, then you did like a yakitori, right? There's like these skewered hearts.
Yep. Venison hearts.
And you were talking about how you love heart.
Yeah. One of my favorites.
What do you think about it texturally, man? Like, it's kind of got a cool little spring back.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that cardiac muscle, although it is a muscle, it has a different makeup than every other, movement muscle, right, in an animal. And so that's reflected in the texture and the grain especially. And like you say, just kind of like that springiness to it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fascinating to me that, okay, so say you take like a shank, right? And let me back up and say like you look at different cuts of an animal, and traditionally the cuts that are worked more on the animal are going to be the tougher cuts, right? And then the least used, like the tenderloins and stuff, are going to be much more tender. Mm-hmm. But the thing that fascinates me about the heart is that this heart's pumping, 24/7, obviously, and yet it provides like extremely tender meat. Like if you cut it properly against the grain, I find that to be, very, very supple meat, right? And the way that grain is, and it's so fine. It's, when they cleaned up, I think it's one of the best eaten muscles on the entire animal.
Do you get into any of like the metaphysical stuff, like with this being like such a primal central part of this animal and absorbing any of it?
To be honest, I don't really. When I take an animal, it's still an animal until I basically get the hide off, and then for me, like something in my brain switches.
It changes, it changes.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just back in the restaurant with a whole lamb basically on the table, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, it looks exactly the same. So right away, as soon as that hide comes off, it switches for me, and it turns into, what cuts am I going to pull off? And you pull something off, you're like, oh, that's awesome. Like I haven't had this cut in a while. I'm going to make like so and so, and you kind of like mentally make note of that, and as you're processing. So yeah, for me, no, I never. Can't say I got into like the metaphysical. I'm also not a super deep thinker either, so for me it's just kind of meat.
Man, maybe, but you've got to, right? Like if you're putting all this effort into photography, right, and videography, right, and the editing and the the interpretation, your interpretation of it, or what's that other term you could interpolation, mm-hmm. right? Like that's probably fair to say is being referenced when you're probably even more so when you're cooking, right? You got to be thinking about stuff, right? Or else it wouldn't be any good, right? You've got to be. There's got to be some examination, some self-examination of it on some level, or else it doesn't translate it in the realm of storytelling the way that seems important to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's like a depth to hunting, right? Like in terms of something like to me, it feels more like real than most things I do in my life. Especially like the backcountry hunts, like there's something about it. So I guess on that level, yeah, but just not when it comes to like the meat itself. I guess.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man.
Yeah.
I like keeping the hearts. To some degree, I like keeping it to expose other people to it, right?
Totally.
Like it's a neat thing to. Saying there's a bear heart in this burgoo or this stew or something, right? Like,
yeah.
Novelty seems like it cheapens it too much, but there's a point of interest.
A point of interest, yes.
Right.
Yeah, and there's something to be talked about there that I think is pretty cool.
Sure.
So when I worked in the restaurant industry, my last job before I left that was as a product development chef. So I worked for a company. We had about, at the time, maybe I think 35 or 36 stores across the country and a couple down in the States. And I was in charge of one of the concepts, and I was responsible for creating the menu for that concept. And so it was a super cool job from a chef standpoint, because here I work like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, which is pretty unusual.
Yeah.
But it just afforded you the space and time to really like kind of dig into like the food science and like the way that we eat, that kind of stuff, as well as like look at ingredients on like a very, just a super deep level compared to what you would do if you were like working every single day, running a restaurant, feeding people, en masse. So we did burgers, and I think I spent about a month and a half working on just developing a burger for this restaurant. And so we got to try, man, I must have brought in 20 different pre-mix ground chubs is what they're called. These like 5-pound chubs, and trying all these different mixes of burger. And the one in a blind taste test that everybody hands down liked the best had something like 15% ground heart in there.
Really?
Yes, because the flavor was just like not overpowering. I guess it would just be like a very beefy flavor. Like it just tasted more like beef than any other mix there when it's eaten in that burger with 20% fat or whatever it was. So I thought that was always fascinating, but we never put it on the menu with that mix anyways, because we just from a standpoint of just like how that appeared on the menu, like if anybody ever found out that we have heart and we didn't say it, I think a lot of people would have gotten freaked out.
Yeah.
I love that everybody chose that as their favorite.
That totally makes sense though, man. It's like like the American palate is so based around corn in so many ways, right? Like the critters eat corn, right? Or soybean, right? And a mechanized version of it, right? So there is a uniformity. I'm going to say uniformity instead of blandness, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think the stuff that people react to a lot, flavor-wise, like there's this element of like funk to it, right? Like I think as human beings, we do have a natural inclination to just like a little bit of funk, right? Like, it's like a waterfowl breast, skin on, seared nicely, right?
Yeah.
It tastes like a great beef steak with just like a hint of funk that just keeps it interesting.
Yep.
And maybe funk is the wrong word to use, but it's like the same thing with cheese. Like you can get that plastic cheese, right? Or you can get something with just a little bit of age to it, a little bit of lived-in-ness to it.
Yep. It's almost like a terroir.
Yeah, totally.
It's this idea that the idea that these animals that we're killing and we're eating out there, that they are like a representation of the land that they live on, right? And so there's a ton of diversity in that, right? Even just from a deer that lives, you could kill two deer, 50 kilometers apart or 25 miles apart kind of thing, and they could taste very, very different based on what they're eating. One's in an ag field, the other's eating wildflowers in the alpine, and they're totally different. So there's definitely something like wild about it. This probably isn't true, but in my own mind, I like to tell myself that when you talk about like people are drawn to and they like that funk or that terroir, I like to think that it's because we all have that bit of like primal within us that is looking for like the best quality, right? And it's like this is like the best fats, the highest protein that you can get in meat out there a lot of times, and so I like to tell myself anyways that people are drawn to it because that's what we used to eat for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, I mean, and there's got to be a reason that like these top shelf predators, like the first thing they're going towards on a big kill, right, is like the viscera.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, getting that liver.
The wobbly bits, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and now that's kind of in vogue with. Did you ever see that cat, the Liver King?
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah,
that guy, man.
Yeah.
Well, but that whole like nose to tail type of eating thing is like superfoods.
Yeah,
like that's always been a way of eating, right? Both through pragmatism, possibly through lack of resources, like poverty and stuff or whatever. Like people are eating different parts, but now it's now it's like the new super protein shake or something, right?
Totally.
I am not drawn to eating raw ungulate liver. It. I eat a lot of bird livers.
Yeah.
Like a ton. But man, an ungulate liver is assertive in a way that is
assertive. That's a good way.
It's difficult, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes. My buddy Byer, though, he does. I forget the ratio is. Maybe it's like 1 pound of liver to 8 pounds of ground.
Yeah.
And he just grinds it up and does like this liver grind and still gets all the health benefits out of it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. How do you do your duck livers?
So honestly, most of the time I'm eating them like minced up in some sort of sautéed, mixed preparation. Occasionally, like some sort of spread, like do some pate or something, but not usually. Usually, it's like a dirty rice or I like them in gumbos and stews and stuff. Occasionally, as like a force meat, maybe in a. Get like a nice goose that's not shut up and you got like a good neck on it, like do like a force meat sausage and with the neck skin.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes. I've never done that, but I remember looking at a French cookbook like 15 years ago and I remember seeing that and I just thought that was the coolest thing.
It's cool, man. And it's like, it's not hard really. And it's impressive. Like it's a kind of a cool little wow factor. Totally. I really like the fact that when you do it, like one end of the sausage is fatter than the other end of the sausage. I just think it presents well
because it's not like coming out of a food factory where everything's like exactly precise and even all the time, right?
Well, no, just because it's skinnier by the head than it is down by the base.
Totally, but right? But does it excite you because you know that you're not eating like heavily processed, manipulated foods? Because it's like I'm using the neck. It's different. Different size on each end, and it's like I'm eating like for lack of a better term, like real food.
Yeah, I mean, I think it. If I'm being incredibly real, I think that if I do that specific preparation, there is a little bit of a like, man, I'm a bad man. Like most people are just breasting out their ducks, dude, and I'm like packing its neck skin with, you know. Stuff that people throw away. I think there is a little bit of that, but yeah, there's a man. I take a tremendous sense of pride in not throwing a lot away.
Agreed.
Right? Like I feel like it's. I'm trying to. I mean, whatever. Everyone who listens to this podcast already probably knows how I feel. I feel like it's a higher order, right? Like I feel like it's a more right way of hunting and processing animals and all that. And
right.
It's not about feeling superior to somebody. I just feel so much satisfaction. Like those tamales I made, like the fact that was all just like I made stock and then I just picked the bits of meat off of it. Like I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction knowing that, I got however many more meals out of this stuff that a lot of people don't see any value in.
For sure.
And it's also not like it's not a struggle meal, you know what I mean? It's not like Kraft macaroni and cheese and pickled hot dogs. Like this is stuff that tastes good too, right?
Yeah. Have you done much yakitori before?
No, not really. I mean, like I've grilled up a lot of duck hearts like over a fire, but and just eating them like little meat marshmallows. But
totally,
nothing so standardized that I could call it yakitori.
Gotcha. So one of the reasons that I cooked that heart yakitori in that film was because I just bought this yakitori book. I'll have to find the name of it, but it's. I mean, I find Japanese culture fascinating, just with the degree of thought and skill and the depth to which they chase a craft, right? And so here we're talking about simply like grilling chicken, which is traditionally what yakitori would be, but yet you flip through this book and I can't remember, it's something like there's 27 different cuts of chicken for 27 different types of yakitori, and each one has like, usually they're using like some similar sauces, but there's like different seasonings for each single one. So you might get a kick out of it just because you're dealing with so many ducks. And, there's recipes for, wings. There's recipes for just like the Pope's nose, Like having like 5 Pope's noses on a little skewer and grilling them up. And
they do intestine stuff, right? Like they'll skewer the intestines.
Yeah. I think they do gizzards and livers and hearts and it's pretty cool.
Man, I have wondered about. I mean, because I've cooked duck tongues before. I've gone down and I've never. I think even with that yakitori stuff, I think I've seen stuff where they're using a. Have you ever processed like a chicken and it had underdeveloped eggs still inside of it?
No, never.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. But I think I've seen like yakitori where they're using those.
Wow.
Right. They get down.
That's next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about something with a little bit of funk to it. You ever eaten chitlins?
I have, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What'd you think about it? Not for you?
They were funky.
Yeah, I don't like them, dude.
There's not many foods that like I can't do, to be honest. But there's lots of foods that I like don't go back for more. But it's like it's not that I'm like put off by the food. It's just like wasn't my flavor, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm put off by chitlins, man. And that's like a thing I grew up with.
Yeah.
And it is. And I'm not exactly sure why, because I spend so much of my time like with like inside, like my hands inside of animals, dude. But I think just I've got a childhood trauma informed predisposition to not liking them chitlins, man. My mom used to make my dad loved them, right?
Yeah.
My dad's this like old black dude. His parents are from Arkansas and Mississippi, and he just like he grew up eating chitlins and yellow mustard, right?
Yeah.
And he loved that stuff. And my mom wouldn't let him cook them in the house because, I mean, again, assertive, odiferousness. So I just got this image of my dad outside in the snow when I was a kid. It's like snowing outside. My dad's all bundled up, and he's underneath my treehouse, using the treehouse like to keep the snow off of him. He's got like a Weber grill out there with a little fire and this little tiny like single serving pot.
Yeah,
just making like one order.
Yeah,
and then he like goes down in the basement and eats them with yellow mustard.
That's some food love right there,
dude. Yeah, he was about it, man.
That's some dedication.
He was about them chitlins, dude. And man, chitlins are a deal. Like, man, you've got to clean them exceptionally well, man.
Yeah.
But it's just gnarly, dude. Like, you see your aunt like scraping the polyps off of them and stuff. Like,
yep.
That doesn't say Thanksgiving to me, but
I had a pretty cool food experience a couple of years back when I was in Tajikistan. I was with a couple of guys, and they had both just shot ibex at the same time, and we were with 2 guides at the time, and we were basically, I think we were exactly 14,000 feet. So we killed these 2 ibex, and we start processing and stuff like that. And a couple of the kind of assistant guides or helpers came up with a couple of yaks to help us pack these ibex off the mountain. And so as we're going, we shot them first thing in the morning, so we had all day to kind of process. And it was a very cold but nice day. And one of the guides pulls out, guts one of the animals. They save a bunch of stuff, and he takes all the intestines, and he basically just hands it to one of these young kids who's like, 16, 17. And the kid turns around. His fitness is phenomenal. He runs all the way down this hill to this river, and you see him just emptying out and just cleaning out, flips it inside out, cleans out the entire intestine, and then literally just runs right back up the hill at 14,000 feet. It was impressive to watch. And then they made basically kind of like a form of sausage right there on the hill, and we ate it within 3-4 hours of killing these ibex. Yeah. So they're sitting there. I got a couple of cool pictures, and they're just basically cutting, like almost ripping chunks of meat off. They got the knife in their hand, and they would take another chunk of meat in their other hand, and they would basically put their thumb and just pull that knife back to their thumb and just rip off these like irregular shaped pieces of meat.
Yeah, like an old lady cutting a potato or something.
You got it, yeah. And then they did the same thing with some back fat, and then they took that and they used the largest part of the intestine, diameter-wise, and they basically seasoned it up a little bit with some spices. I don't really know what they were. It was just more like a seasoning packet. And then they stuffed it in there. They tied them up. And so they had a couple, kielbasa style, maybe 12-inch long curled stuffed sausages, but with like diced meat. And then they had a little stove up there. They had a little pot. They boiled them. And they had some sort of like instant packet of like... beef broth or something like that, bouillon, that they put in there. And they laid out laid out a little tablecloth basically on the mountain there, and they pulled these sausages out. We didn't eat any of the actual like casing, but they just kind of cut it up into chunks, and we would just like all pull out the chunks of meat and fat, and you know, have a little salt, sprinkle it on there, and you'd eat that with like 5-day-old stale bread, and wash it down with a cup of this this, you know, kind of simmering liquid. It's fantastic. Like one of the cooler in-field cooking experiences I think I've had.
That sounds really awesome, actually, man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you gotta understand, for people who don't know, like there's a process through which an animal would go into rigor mortis, and then, you know, it comes out. So usually it would take a day, maybe a day and a half before that kind of stuff wears off. But here they just did it right in the moment. So it wasn't the most tender meat, but man, it was freaking cool. Like really cool, especially sitting up there in those mountains, looking out at the, you know, 20,000 foot peaks, and you're eating this ibex that you just killed a couple hours before.
That's a wild preparation too. So they're boiling it. They're not eating that casing was just a vessel.
Yep.
To cook it in. I'm sure it's infusing some sort of funk in there.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Some good assertive flavor.
Yeah, assertive. And then is the fat like kind of rendering down in there a little bit, or is it kind of a?
It was rendering down, yeah, and it would permeate out through that intestine, and so like on that, you know, we each got maybe 3 ounces of that super salty, very like beefy broth, and it had just a little bit of animal fat on the top, right, a little bit of oil. It was delicious.
And so you're just kind of like sipping that like a little bit of a soup shooter,
yeah,
and then
exactly,
then eating the meat, huh?
Yeah,
that's neat, man.
It was great.
Have you ever tried to recreate anything like it?
I do definitely love to cook in the field. I think there's something really cool about cooking an animal in the place where you killed it. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty magical, and I think it also forces us to slow down. I think, especially when we're talking about big game, when we go to these kind of really cool, epic places, I think because life is so rushed, we're rushing to the trailhead. We go back there. We kill an animal. We pack that thing right back out. We jump in our car or get on a plane and we fly home. And it's like we got to get back to life. And I think there's I just think there's some magic to staying out there and like existing, almost kind of like with no purpose for a day, right? Like we're not chasing an animal anymore. You're just sitting there like taking it all in. So I like the fact that like cooking an animal in the place where you kill it forces you to slow down and appreciate that stuff.
Yeah. And it lets the whole thing kind of wash over you a little bit more, man.
Yes.
That makes so much sense. Because I would say that is, as I've just recently, last few years, started to get to travel to hunt. And that I've seen it both ways, right? Like where I've had time to hang and kick it and, spend all day plucking birds and figuring out what we're going to cook and just, get like a daytime buzz on, drinking some beers or something. Just like let the whole thing kind of macerate. And then I've also been like, dude, I gotta drive 20 hours. I gotta get out of here, man.
Yeah.
I guess really, man, I'm not doing a ton of like in-field cooking, which is something I need to augment. I need to do more of that.
There's like I call it like a rusticity to it. Like there's like a rusticness to it. And it's not lost on me. Like I'll always preface it if I'm feeding someone out there. I'll be like, just please keep in mind like what we're dealing with in terms of like the quality. Sorry, not the quality of the meat, but like how soon we might be eating the meat after. Yeah. Like it hasn't aged, so it might be a little bit tougher than you're used to. But there's this like rusticity to cooking in the bush. It's no different than like cooking over fire. It's like, you get a bit of char, maybe you burn things a little bit, you don't have even heat in your pan, whatever it might be. But when you cook over fire, for me, there's just like magic. Like it kind of like, it saves itself. So like, it doesn't have to be as precise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you're cooking out there in one of these, on the side of the mountain, I think there's magic there. It's not the best cooked dish I've ever done. But because, you were involved in taking that animal the day before or 2 days before, and because you're cooking on the side of the mountain, there's like this extra magic that goes into the food that I think just helps us like savor it. It's just like it's like a deeper, richer flavor for me.
Well, and what's required of the meal and the experience to like satiate you, right, is different. It's the idea of like a very basic meal when you're incredibly physically exhausted and really tired.
Yes.
It tastes different, right? It satiates you in a different way.
And your body's craving protein.
Yeah.
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 For sure.
I don't remember. It was some sort of a sheep hunt. It might have been like a meat eater thing or something. But I remember seeing this years ago where they killed this sheep, I think in Alaska. And then they just like cooked the ribs there on a fire, right?
Yeah.
Like had some little seasoning that they had snuck up there. And it's, intellectually, I know that's like, dude, that's got to be some boot leather up there, man. Like, you just killed this big old ram and then you cooked it over a fire, man. Like, you're gnawing on that, right?
Yep.
But it's there really has been an appeal to it the whole time. I was like, dude, I bet that's a hell of a satisfying meal, man.
Yes.
Just up there. And when you're dealing with dark, that is, you got a fire and then it's dark on a level that 2 feet outside the circle of the fire it is without form, right? It could be anything could be there, right? There's an immediacy to the moment, right? Like there's an immediacy to your being a human being and existing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like your little realm of safety is this little bubble of light,
yes.
Right? And you're sitting there. And I mean, even with like cool gear and Gore-Tex and whatever, man, like you're filming stuff, like there is a connection to like all the people that came before that have done this shit, right? Like
totally.
You got a little bit of an idea like what Daniel Boone felt like, or whatever Canadian heroic analog you might have.
Yeah, there's something. I'm a firm believer that, like, if we existed on this planet for however many years we did before this, and we lived as hunter-gatherers, like, I find it hard to believe that in the very, very, very short time span that it's taken us to become, civilized, I find it hard to believe that we've lost like the need for those experiences that you talk about, right? Those like super deep immersive experiences where you're like living in the moment, eating this, wild animal, surviving by a fire, and your entire world's in that small little circle. So, I'm a firm believer that, like, we all need that. Those of us who maybe don't experience it as much, like, we just haven't realized it yet, but like there's like an innate need inside all of us to like experience and like live in the moment like that. Like, it's just very rare these days. So, you gotta soak it in whenever you can.
Man, and look, I encourage everyone you can go to Sitka Gear on YouTube, right? And you can see this film featuring Connor. And you talk about it, about like coming to hunting, discovering it as an adult, right? Which is like, how old were you when you started hunting?
I think it was like 24 or something like that.
Yeah, I was like 27 the first time I killed a deer, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, dude, no, man. Like, what I am now, dude. Like when me and Marianne got together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked very different. I was doing different stuff. Do you know the band The Bad Brains?
No.
That punk band?
No.
I was gonna say there's a good reference for that. But yeah, man, I just had like 3 big dreadlocks, and just. I was still like driving around in a van. I just had a guitar instead of a shotgun, like I do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I was 27. I killed that deer that's on the wall in there. That's the first deer I ever killed. And it just kind of like made a hard turn in my life. But yeah, man, it was immediately resonant with me.
Yeah.
Right. On levels I didn't even understand, like all the waxing poetic and stuff I do in these little written diatribes or whatever, like that wasn't all fully fleshed out. I was just like, man, this feels right.
Yeah. One of my favorite expressions is, you don't know what you don't know. Sorry, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very easy for someone who doesn't hunt to listen to you and I, or to watch a Meat Eater episode and be like, that's cool, but like, I don't need to go eat an animal on the side of the mountain. But it's like, you just don't know that you need that in your life, right? And so I find it interesting, like how many people like you and I get into hunting later in life, and like you say, you take that sharp right turn, and it's like we just dive like into the deep end on it. I find that fascinating to me, that it's got such a pull to people that do, dip their foot in the water kind of thing.
Man, you know what it and I always like try and be careful like how far I push these analogies, but I do very much feel that it's like if your only contact with sexuality, right, was like perusing the internet and whatever depravity involves from that, and then you like had a partner and like fully realized what it could be.
Yeah,
it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
like, I mean, maybe the other thing when you didn't know felt like it was doing it for you, man. But then it's like,
yes,
you touched someone's actual butt. It was 10,000 times better, man.
A little bit different than touching the mouse.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I mean, but those are both primal, like human experiences, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think of like other things and passions, pastimes in people's lives, and it's like, what's the dropout rate on someone who picks up a guitar and it's like, I want to learn how to play guitar. Mm-hmm. How many people like never, put it down the rest of their lives? Whereas I feel like hunting, to a certain degree, like people that get into it, they're kind of into it for life to a varying degree. And there's a hook there that's to me is super interesting.
Man, in that film, there's some really cool images of you on a sailboat. And then you were telling me earlier today that like you're fixing to ditch the city life and you're going to like move onto a sailboat full time.
I need more adventure in my life.
Well, man, and that's a cool, I mean, we're talking about kind of all these like big, heady, like these human ideas, right? And like being on a boat, right? And the potential for being on a boat is one of them, right? And you're talking about like all these islands you can sail around to. Like there's just this.
You should zoom in here. Actually.
Yeah. Let's do it, man.
So zoom into Vancouver. Go right in there. That's an island called Vancouver Island off the coast there. So keep going in. Zoom right in here.
Okay. We're going to continue to zoom here. So we're down here by Vancouver, Surrey, Richmond, Parksville.
Yep. And so you just look at, you keep going in further here, but even just in this one spot, like for those people who are listening, basically if you were to sail up from like Baja, California, all the way up to Vancouver, you're basically exposed to the Pacific Ocean the entire time. And then when you get up to the Pacific Northwest, the Olympic Peninsula, stuff like that, you basically round the point and you come into the inlet here, and you're kind of protected behind Vancouver Island. So as a result of that, there's like thousands and thousands of these small little islands, from anything from the size of this room basically that's sticking up with one tree on it to just these massive islands. And so when it comes to coastal cruising and just kind of exploring, Vancouver, or I should say BC, is just phenomenal. And this is just a fraction of it. I mean, you go up the coast and there's these, inlets that are, they take you 3 hours to boat up them in a speedboat, and there's goats at the end of them, and Roosevelt elk and black-tailed deer everywhere. It's a pretty wild part of Canada, and it doesn't get visited that often. Lots of boaters out there, but you can get to some pretty extreme places.
What's the appeal about being on a sailboat, right? And like using that as a means of propulsion?
It's a good question. I mean, I grew up spending like summers on a sailboat with the family and stuff like that. So I did like sailing classes when I was a kid, and then we'd go out on a 30-foot boat, and there'd be 4 of us basically camped out there for 3 weeks cruising around. And so I think probably just how I was raised, I just like the lifestyle. It speaks to me, I guess. And I think there's something that forces you to like slow down when you're sailing, and you are more at the whim of nature, I guess. So for those people who don't sail, sailboats have a very small engine versus, compared to the displacement of the boat. So they're not moving very fast. I'm cruising at basically 5.5, 6 knots on the sailboat if I'm motoring. And if you're sailing and the wind's really good and it's going with you, you might get up to, 7 knots, 7.5 knots, and that's like flying kind of thing.
How fast is a knot? Do you know?
Man, I want to say it's like 1.4 miles per hour or something like that.
You're talking about flying. You're going like 10, 12 miles an hour or something. You're not.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going fast at all. But what I love about it, and especially in that part of the country or that part of the ocean, is that you're just at the whim of like tides too. So there's, I don't have the ability to just like overcome nature and say, hey, I want to go from here to there, and I'm going to do it like in this amount of time, and I could just go like, if you're out there in the winter and there's a bit of a storm, or there's a certain wind going a certain way, it's going against you. You can't sail directly into that. You got tides that are fighting against you or going with you. You have passes that you have to go through at a certain slack tide. So I like the fact that I'm not able to manipulate the environment out there. I have to kind of work with it, whether that's wind or tide. So, yeah.
Is that this is just like a procedural question, but so how does something like, if you're living on a boat like that,
yeah.
I guess you don't have to have a port, right? Like you don't have to have a standard port. So, I mean, are you like really as free as that sounds? Like, man, you don't know anybody anything. You don't have to pay anybody anything. You're just out there, stop and get a bag of flour and catch a fish. And how does that work?
I wish it's not quite that romantic. I mean, I'm still gonna be working next year, so I still need to be able to take the boat and leave it somewhere and go fly and do a bunch of hunts and document them and stuff like that. So. Not quite that free. I'm going to keep a slip at a marina that's close to the family cabin there, and I'll use that kind of as a base when I have to go fly somewhere. And then, I'm going to try and incorporate my work into the sailboat as much as I can, and lots of opportunity to hunt off the coast there. So,
is the plan to stay up there? I mean, do you have like aspirations to sail the globe, or
sail the ocean blue?
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah. Unfortunately, the boat that I'm going to be using, it's not quite set up for that. It's not that big of a boat. It's 35 feet, but it doesn't displace very much. There's not very much like room inside the boat. But it's got everything I need. So it's more of a coastal cruiser. So the plan is, I'll work around the coast, around Vancouver Island and stuff like that. And then I'd like to go up to Haida Gwaii for the summer, which is off your screen up to the left there. It's this group of islands. Keep going, yeah. So go further.
Okay, yeah, wow, man, that's far up there.
Yeah, so that's Haida Gwaii, and it's an archipelago. I think there's like 150 islands or something like that. And it sits anywhere, it's probably like 60 miles offshore, off the mainland. So it kind of sits out in the middle of the Pacific there a bit. And it's just a wild place. I have a really hard time describing it. I always tell people it's just like there's a bit of magic there. It almost looks like the Alpines, a cross between New Zealand and Hawaii. And it's just teeming with food. I mean, there's some of the best salmon fishing in BC can be found up there. You got tons of bottom fish. You got crab. You got prawns, berries everywhere. There's mushrooms. You got, sea urchin and sea cucumbers and you name it. I mean, it's just teeming with food. So it's a pretty cool place to hang out. So that's the plan, to go up there for the summer for a little bit.
Dude, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's it's like a much more romantic van.
It's very similar to your van, yeah. I mean, you're just kind of self-sufficient, and you can kind of go wherever the wind takes you, I guess.
That's cool, man. It's good to know that there's, there's opportunity for that kind of lifestyle still, right? Like And it's not just a reaction, you're a single gentleman, right? Like you see, my wife is a week overdue right now.
Yeah,
so
ready to burst.
Yeah. So I'm about to have 3 kids, and like there's a rootedness that is needed for my existence that isn't necessarily for yours. But I mean, like I don't want everyone to go work in a building, right? Like I want there to be a dude that's like living on a boat and going taking pictures of ibex, and eating colon sausages, you know. I mean, I'm trying to think. That's probably like, if it's the biggest part, was that like the bung?
Yeah, it'd be the bung.
Yeah.
You got it.
I think the last podcast, actually, we talked about bungs.
No way.
Yeah, well, the last podcast, I recorded in a butcher shop.
Okay.
Yeah, where I was like, hey, man, have you got beef bungs in here, man? I'm trying to make like a mortadella kind of deal. That's also
nice.
What's so cool, too, is that's like the complete antithesis to these like Western European like emulsified sausages that,
yes,
you know, that like everybody loves, and that I think with charcuterie is kind of like one of the it's one of the ways you measure yourself against other people who do it, right? Like, can you make these like more difficult, like hot doggy, mortadella, bologna type?
Yeah, that
stuff's harder to make than like a bratwurst, right?
Yes.
But just have the complete antithesis of it, and just be like big chunks of stuff.
Yeah.
Taking those soup shooters, that's neat, man.
They just don't have the time or the equipment, right?
Yeah, and the experience doesn't necessitate it. Like,
yes,
that would be weird.
Yeah,
you're giving it what it needs, doing it, you know, more. How'd you call it, like rustically, or
yeah, yep. That's a good way of putting it.
What? So we didn't even talk about why you were in Arkansas, because I just saw on someone else's Instagram feed that you were going to be like timber hunting for like the last few days. So we should probably talk about, like, just for a minute or two, like why you're from all the way up there where your boat's going to be, up Vancouver, and you came to this well-known locale of I mean, you've been down by like Wabaseka and stuff, Arkansas. Did you see Wabaseka?
No, didn't.
Yeah, it was close to by where you were, but
okay.
Yeah, you were hunting like Bayou Mita and
yep.
Like famous Arkansas timber stuff.
Yeah, and for the record, I wasn't hunting myself. I got a buddy who I sheep hunted with years ago, and he invited me down to come and hang out. Right, there's no residents allowed to hunt here right now.
Yeah, this is Jonathan Bradshaw, the sporting dog vet. If you live in Central Arkansas.
Yeah, yeah, man. I like variety of experience, and I like to see different things all the time. And so he said, "Hey, do you want to come check out what it's like to, you know, see what I do," kind of thing. And I said, "Yeah." So came down to see what it was all about, and he showed me what it looks like to hunt ducks on public land, and showed me how challenging it was and the grind and stuff like that. It's just totally different than anything we have back home.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this, man. Like, I think there's something lost. I think for me personally, there's something lost in the experience when there's that many other people around. You know, like you gotta. I mean, you gotta fight them. I mean, really. I mean, hopefully not physically, but there is pugilism to it, right? Like, it's a competition.
Yep.
But then also, if you take that out, right, and you just get into the part where you're in the flooded timber, right?
Yeah.
It's some of the most spookily magical, otherworldly stuff ever, right? And then when you've got these animals that like exist in a totally different realm, right? And you like bring them all the way down to right there in front of you, man. It's you can see why people get so fanatical about it and why they put so much energy into it.
Yeah.
I just personally, I want more of that magic and less of, you know,
of all the bullshit leading up to it.
Yeah, the assholes drinking Mountain Dew and driving their dad's trucks, you know.
That's fair.
But I mean, you got to see a couple mallards or a few birds anyway killed in the timber?
Yep. Yeah, we did. It was cool. I always tell people, like, people are like, "Oh, what's your favorite type of hunting?" And I don't really have a favorite type. Like, I kind of like them all because I feel like they all scratch a different itch for me. Yeah. So it's like, man, I love doing like backcountry solo backpack trips, right? You go out for a week and you're looking for alpine mule deer or something like that. That's fantastic, but I will just as gladly go out with a buddy and we'll drive around cup blocks and we'll hunt deer all day and like never get out of his truck.
What did you say? You drive around what?
Cup blocks.
What's that?
Cup block, like forestry cup block. I don't know what you guys would call them down here, but basically just where they would go in and they put in a road into a section and a valley or something like that, and they'd go up and they'd cut off or cut out a section, right? It could be, it's not necessarily a specific shape, but they just basically almost like clear cut, like a small little area.
Yeah.
Cut down everything, and then they'd go, another couple hundred yards, and they might have another one on that road, and then a couple of hundred yards, and they have another one. So sometimes you can deer hunt there, and it can be pretty good, especially for a certain species of deer.
Sure, like that new browse coming up.
Yep, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I'm just as happy going and like chilling with one of my best buddies and, road hunting for deer for a day as I am going backpacking for 7 days. It just scratches a different itch. One's about like the mental challenge, the physical challenge, and the other is about, and being independent and doing everything yourself. And the other's about hanging out with a buddy and the camaraderie and catching up and, just kind of having a casual hunt. So I like them all. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to come down and just check it out. It's like, to me, that's just a different type of hunting that I want to experience and see what it's all about. And man, you guys have a wild culture down here for that. It's crazy unique. It
and occasionally it gets out of hand, but it is being I say waterfowler, but really, man, we're in Arkansas, man. So like being a duck hunter, a duck hunter in Arkansas is like, it's almost vocational, right? Like people, they culturally identify with it.
Yes.
They attach their personalities to it. It's something that like goes from generation to generation, and there's like people deeply identify as like an Arkansas duck hunter, right? And then all the the stuff that I lament, like then you start getting like the wiener wagon and the money and all that other stuff into it. But at its core, there's something really special and magical that I think draws people to it. And it is, man, when that stuff goes right, when you get on when you're and to me, like, I like a smaller timber hole, right? Like a smaller timber hole, man, and those birds have to really commit to get down in there, man. And then you get 10 of them or 20 of them or every once in a while 50 of them or something. Yeah. Man, I mean, it'll keep you going. It'll keep you going for years. Yeah. It's something special.
Special because it doesn't happen all the time is kind of my understanding. That's the impression I got when I was down here.
Well, it's gotten harder, right? I would say. But I think special because I really think that it is an intersecting of different worlds and different planes. Like your true flooded timber, right? You're dealing with something that is terrestrial for most of the year. And then you have a handful of months where you could actually ride a boat through this stuff. Like I've got places where I'll deer hunt, and then like there's a hole that there's usually like a ladder stand in the hole when I'm duck hunting it because some dude's deer hunting it. Yeah. And then the water gets up and then it changes. It's something else, right? Like there's an ephemeral nature to it. You've got these birds that came from, way up north of where you're at to all the way down here, relatively quickly. Like they can move like 1,000 miles in 24 hours, right? Yeah. And like come down here and it's crazy to think that some animal that was way up on something almost like a tundra in another country is then down in this little 20-yard wide hole in the woods. And that's what it really is. It's a hole, right? Yeah. I think that's why it's special. I think now, like there's a lot of pressure, there's competition, whatever, hunting's not as good as it used to be. I mean, maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I just think because it's this combination of like so many weird things, it's almost like an inverse. I think at its best, it's like the inverse of what you're experiencing up on top of this mountain, right? Because it's almost like the upside down version of it, right? Right. And there's something cool and special to that as well. Yes.
It's interesting when you talk about it being like two totally different worlds, right? When it's like terrestrial versus like when it's, in that flooded stage. Because when you say that, I think about like there's almost no other hunt that sees that much of a swing in terms of like the place that you're hunting, right? It's pretty interesting. Like you can get snow and you can be hunting in snow versus like hunting on hard ground, but nothing is as drastic as what you guys have down here for that flooded timber.
And you know what's crazy, man, is like now it's because, you know, like we've changed the landscape, we've changed agriculture, all that. I mean, hell, they were trying to straighten the rivers back in the 70s and stuff, you know. Like,
oh yeah,
there's a chunk of the Cache River that's like straight as an arrow.
really?
Yeah, and it got shut down because like these good old boys just kept burning down all their excavators and stuff at night because they didn't want them to do it.
Well, why were they trying to straighten it?
It was the Army Corps engineers, just, you know, because it made more sense, like dredge it out, straighten it, control it. And it's like, dude, this needs to be as much of what it was as it can be.
Yeah.
But like 80% of, you know, 300 years ago, like 80% of this state went underwater every winter.
That's wild.
Yeah. So now you've got these pockets, but it used to be most of the place was like that.
That's really wild.
Yeah, dude, it is. And it's kind of a weird thing where it kind of goes to show you that, you know, everywhere in this huge, weird, crazy, beautiful planet, man, there's all these weird eccentricities and like strange little things you would never know about, right?
Yeah.
But like the people that are there with it, it's so central to their being.
Yep.
Right. So man, what's on the to-do list like moving forward, right? Like you're already living this pretty phenomenal life where you're like up on mountain peaks and you're in countries that most people in Arkansas don't even know exist. And, you know, seeing this like kind of the peak of charismatic megafauna many times a year. But it sounds like you want to travel like to even more far-flung places and really keep the adventure part of it going.
Yeah. I'm not quite satisfied yet. I've got a small short list of like things that I still want to do that would be like bigger ticket, you know, kind of like life ambitions or adventures. But really, I want experiences, man. I want to see as much of the world as I can, and I want to like do as many cool things as I can. And I love cultures, but at the same time, I really like just wild places. So I think that's where like the hunting thing works well for me, because you definitely get to go to those wild places. And so the more of that I can do, the better. And I'm pretty open. Like when it comes to hunting, I'll basically, I'll kind of try any hunt once, I would say. You know, I want to experience things firsthand before I try and like make judgment about whether or not I would like it. So at this point, I'd basically go do any hunt that someone kind of pitched to me, and want to go and experience it, and then just decide for myself whether or not it's for me or if I don't want to do it again. But I don't know, just more adventure.
And so like right now you're working, you said that, you know, people can see your work, like you're doing stuff with Leupold. That's an optics company. You do stuff with Sitka. Mm-hmm. You're doing like these independent kind of documentarian style projects. Yep. Where else could people like see your work, or where could they kind of keep abreast of you and what you're up to?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram. It's Connor Gabbott Photo. I don't use it a ton. I should. It's something I'm meaning to do. So my plan is, once I get on the boat here in a couple of weeks, to ramp that up and just share more of like what I'm doing out there. A lot of it should hopefully relate around food and hunting and stuff like that. But just kind of cool things I see when I'm out there. So I'll be sharing more for sure.
Are you? I mean, do you have like aspirations of doing a cookbook or like more long form kind of written content, anything like that?
I do a bit of written stuff. I've written a couple articles for Sitka. I've done collaborated with a couple of people on a cookbook for Wilderness Athlete, and then I did a bunch of I think the last 3 years I did a series for Leupold where I just dove in and we made all sorts of different wild game recipes. And so you can find recipes and videos and stuff like that. It's all on the Leupold website there. But I'm not tied to a certain idea of like a cookbook or any other kind of styles. I guess what excites me the most is trying to share my passion for food with people, because I think that there's some, there's so many possibilities, and it's such a magic way of interact. Like, it's something that we can all appreciate. And so anytime that I can inspire someone to elevate their game or to look at food in a different way, especially like when it comes to wild food, that's kind of what blows my hair back. So whatever I can do to kind of inspire people to try new things with their wild game, or to perceive it in a different way, to share it with especially non-hunters, that to me is like super, super exciting.
Did you get to do any duck cooking this past few days?
I didn't. No, not at all. Unfortunately, we weren't that successful.
That stinks, man.
Yeah, I do have a question though about ducks and cooking for you. You probably hunt ducks more than anybody I know, and cook them. I've always heard about this idea of like wild foie gras, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea of, for people who don't know, foie gras is this traditional kind of like French method of basically force feeding a duck. And it doesn't take very long, but they force feed it corn. It sounds really bad, and I think some people view it as being pretty bad. But essentially what it does is it engorges the liver. So the liver turns from, this purplish kind of soft, shiny liver, and it turns into this, in a commercially raised duck, it can be like a 2-pound chunk of almost pure fat. And
it's gnarly, man.
Yeah, it's quite gnarly. But it's a delicacy in a lot of cuisines. And I've cooked a bunch over the years, and I didn't realize that this happens, some people say naturally, in the wild. So the idea is that specifically ducks from Europe, when they're traveling and they'd be going down to like Africa, their last stop before leaving Europe, that they'd be out there in Spain and Portugal, Italy, and they're gorging themselves for like 24 hours straight on whatever food they're eating, and that they would get kind of like a natural foie gras liver before they would start flying and do like that big trip over the Mediterranean. But have you ever seen anything like that? You ever seen a liver that looked like foie gras-esque?
No. So a couple things on that. So I don't really see very many like real fat birds down here. And I think it's because I'm at the bottom of a flyway.
Gotcha.
That doesn't quite explain it to me though, because I mean, there's like early season, you got birds that have been sitting around for 3-4 weeks, like just eating, right? Do you know who Hank Shaw is?
Yeah,
it's like
for
hunt,
sure.
Gather, cook, right?
Yep.
So Hank hunts. Hank lives in like Sacramento, and he hunts around there, man. And those birds he kills are stupid fat, like fat. Like this dude can like render over a gallon of just duck fat a year off of the birds he's killing, right?
Wow.
And he has said that, occasionally he will find birds like that. Now, it is never going to be on the scale of like a moulard, right?
Yes.
Maple, what is that? Like Maple Leaf Farms, I think, sells all those ducks. It'll never be like that. But he says that he has, on occasion, gotten a hold of a duck that is not just like...
it's not the usual liver.
Yeah, man. Like there's something else to it. But yeah, man, I don't ever really get that. Like for me, man, if I get a bird that, like when I pluck it, like the skin looks kind of yellow because there's enough fat under it, and like then down by its ass when you're cleaning it, man, it'll have some fat in there. Like that's pretty good. But man, I've heard, these snow geese, folks kind of on that return flight, that conservation hunt, people kind of start chasing them down here in Arkansas, right? So they're like chasing them here, following up to Missouri, Kansas, and then, there's dudes that'll hunt them all the way till May. They say they chase them to the boreal forest line right up there in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, man, those snow geese, when they're like hitting the tree line, like when you shoot them and they hit the ground, they just split open. They're so fat.
Really?
Yeah. So that might be something to get on like in May.
Yeah.
To try that out, because I think you'd have a way higher potential, because you're dealing with birds that are about to drop eggs and try and be in that state. So I think you'd have way more potential for that. But
interesting, man.
I tell you what, dude, that I remember the first time I had foie gras, man, and it's it doesn't taste like marrow, but it's still kind of that meat butter kind of deal.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it.
I mean, shit, dude, like foie gras on a burger is baller, dude. Like, it's real good. And you know, man, it's fatty, it's buttery, it's hitting all that stuff, and there's just like that little bit of funk to it too. It's
For sure.
It's not unapproachable, right? It's very, very mild.
Yeah.
Much more bird livers are much more mild than like even a pig liver, right? And then I don't know, man. Maybe like the more stomachs a critter gets, like the more assertive their liver gets. But yeah, I don't. You know, are you familiar with this like bird flu thing that's happening right now?
Yeah, but bad year for it.
Yeah. I don't know that like eating filtering organs is. I don't know if it's like more problematic this year or not. I don't know, man. I'm still eating them, I guess. But they're like, I'm also like, I'm not eating rare livers either. Like they're getting pretty thoroughly cooked. Yeah. That's a long answer, but yeah, I never get anything like that.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's interesting about the snow geese though.
Yeah, man. I'd love to, it would be amazing. And I've heard of people that do it in a more like they've got migrating birds, and then they'll just like put a bunch of like olives and nuts and shit out for these birds, and they try and facilitate like a bit of a natural foie gras. I've heard of that even. But no,
interesting.
Down like I said, down here, man, I'm never really dealing with just stupid fat, like half-inch fat birds. Yeah. I feel like you'd have to get it. Because also, too, I don't think their liver could get like that in a 24-hour period. I mean, when they're breeding birds for it,
yeah.
I mean, they're sticking that funnel in their mouth for like a month, I think,
for whatever, the 10 seconds at a time every day or something like that. That was my understanding, too. Where I'd heard that kind of natural foie gras idea was a producer in... pretty sure it was Spain who had ducks, and like when their natural cycle would kick in and they'd want to like, I'm pretty sure they were domestic ducks, but when their natural cycle would kick in and they'd want to like, all of a sudden when he watched them gorge themselves for 24 hours straight, he's like, okay, it's time. They would want to fly south right now, and he would go and kill them. Now, this is a long time ago. This is like an article I read in a cookie magazine, but yeah, so I just didn't know.
I mean, that would make sense too, because you're in different species of ducks kind of react differently to, or seem to have a different relationship with like photoreceptors and how that motivates their migration, right? So they're like responding to like light levels during the day and all that shit. But then also, I mean, Spain, right? Like you're dealing with people that like they have a culinary history of this kind of this fattening, this gorging of animals to like produce like really, really desirable, meat products, right? Like, so like Iberico would be like the big thing.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you're kind of dealing with like an Iberico.
Yep.
And that's another thing too, man, is that you would, God, I got to talk to a biologist about this, because you would think, what has drawn migrating birds to Arkansas throughout history has been the availability of this calorically dense resource, like acorns, that gets floated up. Like they wouldn't have access to it normally, but then it gets put in this aquatic environment, they fatten it up, blah, blah, blah. Right? They're eating the same thing those Iberico pigs are eating, man.
Yep.
You would think you'd end up with a bunch of it, but...
You'd think so. And it might also be, now that I think of it, might also be the fact that like the article I was reading about, they're talking about literally flying over the Mediterranean, right? And so, with the ducks down here, I guess if they're just puddle jumping their way down,
they can stop whenever.
Yeah, they can stop whenever, and so they don't really have to like maybe preload for like one big massive trip over the ocean. So maybe that's why
that makes
you
sense,
don't see it as much over here. I don't know, but yeah, there was a fascinating. Well, I found it fascinating. Some people might not, but a Vice short film. It was like 6 or 7 minutes long, I think, and it was in the Faroe Islands, which is in the North Atlantic.
Yeah.
And very, very rugged, wild place. And there's a certain time of year, and I want to say it was in the spring, and I can't remember the name of the bird, but there was a seabird. And
I know what you're talking about. They go around, they like net them out of the...
You've seen this.
Yeah, and they're fat. They get... it's like when they just quite haven't learned how to fly right.
That's
and
right.
They're super fat.
And they're super fat, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they can't get away. So these guys are out on these boats and literally have these big, long, basically fishing nets with like a 10, 15-foot pole. And they're like running up on them with the powerboat and they're like scooping up these birds. And the bird's natural defense mechanism is to puke on the guys.
Yeah.
But then they take them back and they show them how they process them. And it was pretty interesting. They're singeing all the pin feathers off and stuff. And yeah, they're super plump little birds.
And ate them really. Okay, so I totally have seen this.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically they ate them with just like boiled potatoes.
Yes. And do you remember where he grew the potatoes? It was like up on the top of the mountain behind his house. Like it wasn't on his backyard. I'm pretty sure he's like, I planted some potatoes like up the hill, and he just like walks up the hill and he like picked up a bunch of not wild, but like potatoes he planted and basically just left up at the top of the hill.
Man, I don't remember that part. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this thing. And dude, those birds. This is funny because I thought about this then. They looked so sumptuous, right? They were little fat buggers, right? But then I was thinking that there's got to be like a real kind of minerality to them, right? Because I mean, these were like fish eating birds, right? I'm pretty sure. So, or like those cats. You ever seen those cats when they catch those puffins? You see them like in Greenland? They'll be like on the side of these bluffs.
Yes, on the cliffs and stuff.
Yeah, and they'll have like those same kind of long deals.
That's right.
And I bet it's a similar thing. I bet that's got to be a assertive tasting bird, man.
I would imagine.
Like eating a penguin, I bet is. Have you ever eaten a seal or a whale or anything?
Can't say I have. No. I'd like to try.
Yeah, I've talked to people that have, man, and that's kind of how they describe that. Like, I'm kind of fascinated with the idea of eating a seal.
Yeah, totally. It was such a staple, right, for so long, for so many people.
Yeah.
I'm super curious to try it.
And it's also like there's just something weird about a seal because it's like it's this sea mammal, it's kind of exists in these two realms. Like I'm real big on the whatever. I just like I like things that are kind of diametrically opposed working with each other, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but man, you've left me with more questions here at the end. So I'm gonna look into why we don't have Iberico fatty mallards here in Arkansas, because I think we should.
Yeah.
But
I'd be curious to know.
Connor Gabbott. Not Abbott. Connor Gabbott, man. Thanks very much, dude. And thanks for coming over and taking the time, like, here at the end of your trip to come over and have some dinner and talk, man.
Dude, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. That was great. Great dinner, too.
Oh, hey, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
All right. And, folks, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for listening all the way through to this episode of the Black Duck Revival podcast. I'm still on baby watch 2022, hopefully in the next few days. I am a father of 3 as opposed to a father of just 2 right now. But until that time, you can follow me on Instagram. And even after, you can follow me on Instagram. And that handle is Black Duck Revival. You can go to the website, which is blackduckrevival.com. Recipes, articles, etc., etc. If you want to go over to sitkagear.com and to the experiences tab, I've got a ton of articles and recipes over there. Stuff about waterfowling, turkey hunting, elk hunting, all sorts of stuff. So you can check that out there as well. And hey, man, I just actually got an email from somebody about a specific podcast episode. And dude, I so appreciate that, that folks are taking the time to reach out and connect about specific episodes or guests that they liked. So please keep that up. I'll be responding in a timely manner here in the next day or so. But everybody, so appreciate the support. If you have not left a positive review over on Apple or Spotify, please take a minute to do so. Little written soliloquy works wonders for the algorithm. But just let folks know about the podcast. Tell a friend, tell an acquaintance, tell an enemy, and we will see you next time.